I was like, this is just testing me. And I remained calm. Even though I was just like, I don't know what to do.
Everybody gets to see you panic. It's hilarious.
Was I panicking or did I handle
You
it?
handled it wonderfully. And I'm just like, I'm here. What do I do?
Do you know what's funny? Before I came on, I was sort of like, you know, when you have to just settle your nerves and you're like, right, what's the worst thing that can happen? And I was taking myself through all the worst things that can happen. And I was like, oh, well, it can work. So what? And then it doesn't work. I'm like, oh, great.
Right.
Be careful what you wish for, guys. That's a powerful
Let's reframe
right
that. What's the best that could happen out of this?
Yeah. Well, I was already like planning that it was going to be the best, but I was like, you know, I like to be both sides and I become neutral rather than being disappointed if it doesn't work out how it's meant to, which I think is why I remained so calm when it didn't go well. But
you did great.
And I'm so happy to see your face. I know who you are, but our listeners won't. So for everyone that's listening, catching on the live or the replay, who are you? What do you do?
Well, you know, that's what I always feel like that's like a trick question, like, who are you? You know, who are you? My name is Robin Michelle Link. I'm going to say my full name, Robin Michelle Link, and I am a transformational coach. And you know, it really is funny to me because a lot of times they're like, you should have like this introduction of who you are and everything like that. But I really, in order to understand what transformational coaching is, like what true transformational coaching is, you have to use your imagination. So if you can imagine knowing all of your life that you have this amazing gift that lives within you, this amazing ability, there's this knowing that you just have something else in you, and it gets beat down and beat down and beat down with life challenges and other people and things like that, and you just want to have a happy, fulfilled life, and you just can't find it. And if you can imagine yourself crossing that bridge and taking that step forward and finding the expression and the voice and the clarity to really fully express who you are, that's what I do. I help you bridge that.
Oh, what an introduction. I love that. I was there like, where is she?
Can you imagine living a full, happy, wonderful, amazing life where everything just seems to be wonderful and good, and you know, you still have struggles, you still have challenges, you still have things that come up, but you meet it with that inner, not for like immediate plug, but that inner spark, that inner light. That inner light. And I tell you, when you can take on life challenges with that inner spark, with that inner combination, with that powerful gift, that powerful message that you have, no matter what it is, life changes. It literally changes.
I love that. And it's like, it's, and we'll go into more of how people understand what their gifts are and how to bring them to the surface. But like you say, like, society knocks us down and beats us down, right? And we don't even know who we are, let alone what our gifts are.
Yeah.
And so, and I think you really are, and I'm lucky enough to know you, but you really are the person that helps. You're like the magician. You help pull all that stuff out so people can really find that spark. Because look at society today, people aren't lit up, people don't know what lights them up, what their passion is, what their purpose is, what their gifts are. It's just drilled into them that they have to be a certain way, they have to do certain things by a certain time, blah blah blah. You get the drill, right? And it takes someone like you to ignite that spark within them. And yeah, I adore you. So I'm really excited for this conversation today.
We always have so many wonderful conversations. I love it. And now we actually get to do one live, so it's even better. Yes. You know, it's not just society, it's ourselves too. It's what we think of ourselves. And yes, society does beat us down, but we do too. And I think the biggest thing that I would really love somebody to take away from this today is it's okay. It's okay. It's okay if you played that game. It's okay if you kept making mistakes and you kept putting yourself second and you kept doing the things that you knew you shouldn't be doing. You just knew you shouldn't be doing, or saying or anything like that. And it's okay. It literally is okay. And when you can take a step back from that and say, I don't have to be ashamed of what I've done. I don't have to judge myself for what I've done. I don't have to second guess myself anymore. Then you start to clear out that intuition. And when I realized that my intuition was so cluttered, I thought I had this amazing intuition, but I kept struggling. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is going on? I really thought I was living in a cosmic joke. I'm like, okay, somebody has totally set me up and this is not right.
It's like the Truman Show.
I'm like, what's the punchline to this joke? Because I'm getting really tired of it right now. Getting really tired of it. So, but when you can realize it's your conditioning, it is your programming, and I'm just gonna say it really isn't your fault. But when you start to take responsibility for it anyway, that's when things really start to shift in your life.
Yeah, because life can throw us a lot of shit. I say it's like dodgeball, right? You're constantly like this. But if you can be okay with being hit by the ball and knowing that all it is just, it's the world we live in. Let's be honest, it's the world we live in. It's not personal. We were born into a society, for example, school, right, that gets you to focus on the things you're not good at, so you can build that and become a more grounded person. Whereas actually, millionaires and billionaires spend 80% of their time nurturing and focusing on what they're good at. Whereas if we were taught that, we wouldn't be, most of us wouldn't be where we are now. Instead, we're focusing on the things that we're not going to necessarily get better at, where we're all born with these unique gifts and talents that we suppress and suppress and suppress until we don't know what they are anymore. And that's where you come in.
And that's what I love to do. Like, I really love to take somebody through a journey of their life and to be able to see and say, sorry, I'm getting like all these messages, and be able to say, I get it now. I understand. And it had a purpose. It had a process. Because if I were to even look back at the last 2 or 3 years of my life and how hard I struggled, which was ironic because I have a great life, but I was still struggling. And to me, that just did not make any sense whatsoever. Like, I have accomplished a lot of things in my life. I do feel like I'm successful, but there's still something missing, and it's the more bug. Like, well, I need more of this, I need more of that, or maybe I need to get a different job, or maybe I need to get a new partner or whatever. And it's the more bug. But really, what it is it's you are at a point in your life where you're like, the more is me. That's the more is me.
I love that.
And when you start to fill your cup up with the things that you already know you're good at, then you start to ask yourself, okay, well, what have I been taking for granted that I'm good at? What have I been saying, okay, well, this is insignificant. This gift is insignificant. The world doesn't acknowledge this gift as being special or important or whatever. That's not true. That was your conditioning. You were led to believe that, and that's not true. And that's the thing that I love about inner gifts, is that everybody on this planet has gifts and talents. And when you start to connect the things with those gifts and talents, you start to see, okay, this is why I have this desire, and this is why, And this is where this desire came from. And is it really mine? Oh,
yes, I love that. And what a beautiful way to look at it, because we all have, I know you and I do have these big grand visions, but sometimes we look at them through the lens of fear rather than the lens of, I have the gifts to make this a reality. I have the gifts to make this vision become a thing, become manifested in reality, right? And you said a minute ago, I think it's so easy for us to take for granted the things that come easy to us. And so because it comes easy to us, we think, well, it's natural, it's what everyone does, it's not a gift, it's just what I do. And I've noticed that on so many things that I do. And then you will say, for example, oh, you've just done that so quick, or oh my god, it's amazing. I'm like, really? And I downplay it, because again, we're taught in society that if we're screaming and shouting about how wonderful and all the things that we can do, we're deemed arrogant or big-headed. So it feels really powerful to be like, actually, it's okay to say, I'm good at this, and I'm good at this because this is going to help me get to where I want to go.
Absolutely. There's a question here. What if the ability scares you that you can actually create your future? So I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I do want to answer this question because I think it's important. Are you okay with that, Sammy? Okay.
Yeah,
so I really feel like we all go through these cycles, okay? And we have been taught on such a fundamental level that we have to survive. And our patterns have always been survival. And if it scares you, that's because there is a fear that has been unmet by the ability to thrive. And so when you complete that cycle of fear and you start meeting yourself there and saying, well, you got to walk yourself through there first before you're like, okay, well, it's not scary anymore. And then you meet yourself with that inner combination and say, you know, I can use this to start propelling myself to a cycle of thriving now. And
I love that. It's the unknown, isn't it? I think the reptilian part of our brain fears the unknown. It's literally going, am I going to die or am I going to survive? It's literally like that. And so we feel this fear and stay stuck, we can't move. Whereas actually, once you're there, what seems so scary, you're alive, you're surviving, you're fine, and then the fear dissipates and disintegrates. But I like what you say, it's then using that momentum that made you take the first step.
Yes,
then carry
exactly.
on going.
And so then you are able to create things in your life, and it's not necessarily that you're creating them, it's that you're flowing with them, you're unfolding with them, and then that cycle of survival starts to get completed. And that is one of the biggest things that I have learned, even just recently, is when I start to complete that cycle of survival and then tune back into myself and say, okay, if I could look at this through my gifts and talents, how can I thrive? How can I make something better of this? How can I really step into my personal power? And it's like you said earlier, it's not like a personal power that's like, oh, look at me, I'm so wonderful, you know, all the things, right? It's the, oh my God, I feel really freaking good. I feel really good. I can do a live, you know what I'm saying? Or I feel really good. I can make this hobby into a business. I feel really good about my gifts and talents, and I've acknowledged them, and I realize that that is my unique combination. And you just start building on that unique combination, completing those cycles of surviving, and start stepping into the cycle of thriving. And then it doesn't feel so scary. Then it doesn't feel so unknown, because you have that trust and confidence in yourself already.
Yeah. And it's that self-talk, that pep talk, isn't it? And that's what I think is huge. It's using your self-awareness to recognize the gifts, and that you're okay, and that you're safe, and that it's okay to be here, and that you're learning, and that even if it doesn't work out, that it's fine, you'll find another way, or you'll survive. And that's powerful. I love the way you put that it's a cycle. And it's like our breath. It's a cycle. We breathe in, we breathe out, and everything in life should just flow, like you say. But we hold on to things like fear.
We do. And,
you know,
if I can give an analogy, it's kind of like a fruit tree. You know, it's, I feel like honestly, I don't even feel like we've hit the tip of the iceberg with our innate gifts and talents, only because they've just been suppressed for so long. But I don't want to die off of the fruit tree. I don't want to die like a shriveled up fruit laying on the ground, not connected to who I am. I want to be that that fruit that stays connected to the tree, and it's still producing, it's still connected, it's still giving, it's still beautiful. And if you look at nature is a perfect example of a cycle getting completed, another one starting, another one getting completed, another one getting started, another one getting completed. And I truly believe that is how my life has been. It has been, and it is cycle, it's secular. It's just the way it is. That's just the way it is right now. It might change later, I don't know. But when you can start a new cycle of life, a new chapter of life, a new idea in life through your inner combination, through that your inner gifts and talents, that's how you stay connected to that tree of life. That's how you stay connected.
And I love that. Thank you for that analogy. It just reminds me of being that small puzzle piece, the small cog in the wheel, like the micro compared to the macro. And we forget that. Like, I remember there was a time where I was such in a bad, suppressed, negative cycle where I was like not doing anything, because I was like, why does it matter? It does, I'm a small cog. I'm a nobody. Like, it doesn't matter whether I do what I do. It's not really going to affect anyone. Whereas you're part of it all.
Yeah.
And we forget that. We have these gifts for a bigger plan that our minds can't even comprehend. And when you fully lean into those gifts and trust,
absolutely. And another benefit, another ripple effect, I feel like finding your own inner combination is you get to see, this is the best part, I think, you get to see the beautiful inner combination of the people around you. And then you're just like, and I feel like that is just such an encompassing feeling. Like, when I feel full, then I can start to see how your inner combination is just as beautiful, is just as lovely, is just as worthy. And then the gifts that you have, I'm able to receive. Like, if I were to give you a gift and you couldn't receive it, it does feel worthless. It feels insignificant. Like, why would I want that? I don't want that, But when you can express your gifts and talents in such of your unique way, that was horrible English, but you know what I mean, in your unique way, then you're able to start seeing other people around you. They have a unique gift and talent too.
I love that. And there's two things there. One, you being in your gifts gives other people permission to be in theirs. And you being in your gifts and so fulfilled, you view outside there through that lens rather than judgmental or comparison or not feeling good enough.
Because think about this. Okay, if you go on an inner journey, if we go on an inner journey in your life and you're able to say, okay, I can see where I have judged myself incorrectly, right? And when you start to judge yourself incorrectly, then that compounds other things on top of it. And so then you can also say, okay, well, I've also judged this person incorrectly because I can now see that they're coming from their conditioning and programming. And that's how you don't get offended. That's how you start. Yeah, you don't get quite as offended. Now, I mean, it doesn't just magically appear. I mean, it unfolds as you live your life, as you start to complete these cycles of life. And it's not like it's you know, a magic wand you wave, oh my God, I got my gifts and talents and la la la, life is wonderful. And no, I mean, that's life. Life is unfolding. Life isn't going back in. Life is blooming.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it is.
Yes.
It's like expand, contract, isn't it? There's a saying that I love. It's like, I share what I share through my perspective, my lived experiences. You receive what I'm sharing through your perspective and through your lived experiences. So this is why I never take anything personally, because how can you? They're not exactly the same person as me. They're completely different. So therefore they're observing me through a completely different lens, and vice versa.
It's easier not to take people, it's easier not to get offended. I mean, I can't say that I'm not ever going to be offended again, you know, but it's easier not to be offended when you could say, okay, I really feel like this is just a miscommunication and they're coming from their conditioning and programming, and how can I work through that myself? And I think the beautiful thing about it is I've taken myself through this process for the last 2 years. And I really, unless you were somebody that I was having a conversation with, like telling you the things that I was doing within, you really wouldn't know. And that's the beauty about it, is that you can do the inner work. And you don't have to involve anybody else. You don't have to be like, well, you treated me badly and you did this to me. And I, you know, you get to where you feel more confident in yourself. And then you just automatically set healthy boundaries for yourself. You just automatically enjoy being with people who lift you up and light you up and inspire you. And that's another thing that I really enjoy the most, is when I see somebody that inspires me. There used to be this feeling of like jealousy or comparison, like she's so inspiring, but oh my God, I could never be like her, or they're so inspiring, I could never be like them. But when you come from your gifts, when you come from that foundation of your gifts, then you say, okay, well, they're inspiring because that's sparking something in me. What is that? What is that? And I want to investigate that. And then you can start to see that you do have these inspirational gifts and talents, and you can start to build and grow and involve those things.
Oh, I love that. I love you so much. I really do. I could just listen to you all day. I have got some questions for you, actually, so we can dive a little bit deeper. So many of us struggle with recognizing our unique gifts and talents. How do you help people discover theirs?
It's a process. And I think the biggest thing that somebody needs to know is you're in a box. You're in a box. And if you want to get out of the box, you got to know what box you're in, right? Then realize, right. And that's what happens, is we get out of a box and then we get into another box. It's like we dig this tunnel to a completely different land, and we pop up through the other side of the ground, and we're like, well, this is another place. And it's just a process that you work with yourself until you realize you're more than the conditioning, you're more than the social conditioning, the programming, you're more than the box. Like, your gifts and talents come from the truest version of you. And when you start to see that, then things really start to kind of fit into place a little bit better.
So how would someone identify what box they're in, and that they're
the
even
one
in
thing
a box,
that
right?
Probably the biggest way for them to do that, if you want to do it on your own, is to start asking yourself better questions. Like, ask questions from a place that feels more connected to who you are, and you can even imagine that. Another way to do that is to have people ask you questions, or when somebody asks you a question about yourself, if you don't know the answer, then go back into your imagination and just kind of explore that a little bit. And that's the one thing that I love about imagination is it's kind of like your canvas, your drawing board. So you can go into your imagination and imagine certain things. And then if it doesn't feel right, you can investigate why. So a lot of people don't like to ask themselves questions because we were always taught not to ask too many questions. Yeah.
Another
Yeah.
condition for you.
And if somebody's asking us questions, then that means we've done something wrong. You know, so it's really getting comfortable with developing that inner relationship with yourself. And unfortunately, we've all been born into a dysfunctional world that has a dysfunctional relationship with pretty much everything, including ourselves. And so it's allowing ourselves to have a healthy relationship with ourselves. And then when you do have that, when you start to establish that, it ripples out. It really does.
And so when you say that you go into imagination, are you imagining the best version of yourself and then seeing what comes up, or are you imagining what your blocks are? Can you
so when I go into my imagination, I will imagine the things that I want, like I want to create. And then it's just kind of an exploratory process, you know. Okay, so what feeling is that bringing up within me? And there's certain things that you can do. There's certain, you know, you can do guided meditations, you can relax, but really, honestly, the best way to just get into your imagination is just to relax and see what comes up when you allow yourself to dream. Because I don't know about you, but I used to be a great dreamer. I've always had a great imagination. But the thing that I realized about my imagination is it wasn't working for me. It just like when we started on this call, what's the worst thing that could go wrong, right? And that's true. Like if I started to, when I quit my job, that was what I asked. Well, what's the worst thing that could go wrong? And I kept seeing that. And then I realized, okay, well, that is my imagination playing out. So how am I going to start to shift that in my imagination and start to see it playing out the right way? Because I personally believe that everything happens on a co-creator or a spiritual level first. And when you can really kind of ease into that, and you can't force your way into it, you can't bang on the wall to it, you have to really ease yourself into it, then you can start to bring that together with who you are right now and realize you're not really separated from it. It's just you have beliefs that are making you believe you're separate from it.
And you're so right, because it's something that I found really difficult. It was like, well, the hardest thing that I found for me is shifting into the identity of who I want to be. Like at school, we're asked, who do you want to be when you grow older? And I think that's the hardest question that we all have to answer. And I think it's for the fear of what if, one, if I don't get there, or two, what if I change my mind? There's loads of things. But for me, I have found it really difficult to shift into that identity of the woman that I desire to be, because I don't know what she looks like, because I haven't been her before. So something that I do that helps is journaling. So I find that if I write out who I want to become, the attributes and the things that I want to have, helps with me then imagining. But that's something you've obviously got to that point where now you can just go imagine and you're there. But for the people that
would be awesome.
But for the people that necessarily can't tap into their imagination straight away, for example, like my partner says, how do you see all this stuff when you close your eyes? He's like, I see nothing, I just see black. So he's really had to work on, you know, allowing himself to open his mind to be able to see that part of himself again, because we're in a box and the box is sealed shut, it's taped, you can't, you know, it doesn't allow you to see beyond what you're used to seeing.
When you realize that you had the key in your pocket the whole time to get out of the box, then you're just like, ah, oh, damn.
Yeah.
And really that's it. You You have the key. It's just, do you want to use it? Do you want to argue for not, you know, do you want to argue for the box, or do you want to start using the key to get out? Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. And then you realize
Right.
there's not
And
even
then
a box
there's
there
not even
anyway.
a box, you know? Yeah. Right.
Because you
imagine a box. And that's okay. And really, and that's another thing. That's okay. Honestly, that's the beauty of it. Because if I were to go back in my life and think, okay, well, I wish I would have just had this answer, or I wish I would have just had that, then I wouldn't have learned the things that I've learned about myself and really develop that loving relationship that I have with myself. Because in the end, honestly, in the end, the only person that's going to be with me is me. You know, and I know that there's going to be other people with me, obviously, hopefully, but
I will.
But it's when I'm older than I am now, and I look back at my life, am I going to feel completed? Am I going to feel like I did the things that I came here to do? Am I going to feel like I really stepped into faith and confidence in myself? And I'm not talking about risk taking either, because I was a huge risk taker. I mean, skydiving, bungee jumping, my job was roofing sales, so I walked on steep roofs a lot. So, and motorcycles, I have a Harley. So I am not afraid to do the physical risk taking. But when I started doing the inner work and all these fears started coming up, I was like, well, that's just dumb, because I could go skydive and be just fine, you know, or whatever, get on my Harley and just ride. But when it actually took me the confidence to have, or the faith and the courage, and really just the commitment to myself to say, okay, I'm going to really start investigating these fears, because they don't seem right. Yes, it's like, it doesn't, why am I afraid of this? Because it doesn't seem like right. I remember when I first got onto Instagram and I tried to make stories, I'm like, this is my true story, oh, you know, or I would try to make a reel, and I look back at some of them and I'm like, oh my Lord, that's hilarious. But it's okay, because when you first start out, nothing is going to be perfect. And we have this dysfunctional relationship with perfectionism. And that is like the biggest gift hacker of them all, is like, we think we have to be perfect. We think that if we're going to do something new, well, I've gone through 51 years of my life and I've succeeded, you know, and hindsight, it looks okay. But now I'm starting something new, and oh my God, I look like a complete dork. And so then that hinders you from moving forward. So it's just a matter of working with yourself, walking with yourself, crying with yourself, loving yourself, because guess what? You are birthing yourself. You are birthing yourself. And if you were pregnant, I remember when I was pregnant, you're not going to be mean to that baby growing inside of you, or anybody for that matter. So why would you be mean to yourself that you're birthing, that you're giving birth to?
And that is so powerful, because I think on my journey, I've lacked self-love, so much pressure on myself. Why aren't I getting it? Why is it taking so long? And exactly like you've said, we're just so hard on ourselves, and it's accepting that, one, you can't get it wrong, and Jesus, give yourself a break for trying, right? So many people just avoid these things that they need to look at, and just are happy to play the game that everyone else is playing. And it takes courage and it takes bravery to do the inner work. Like someone said here, like, physical isn't scary, but the inner work is. Yeah, because no one can see what you can see inside. You're having to face that alone. In the physical world, we're not alone, but when we turn inwards, all there is us. And that's why you need the
Absolutely.
compassion to lead yourself.
And I do believe, for me, it was a process. Like for me, I think I really did need to struggle for whatever reason. I must have, because I did. Right. And it, when I started to really work with myself and take good advice from other people, right, and listen to what they were saying, but then turn it back inward. Like, okay, this is really good advice. It's obviously worked for them. Is it going to work for me? And start to use that with my inner combination. Then it allowed me to be more pliable, right? Because we get so rigid in the way that we believe. Well, we were taught to, yes, we get so rigid in the way that we were taught that, you know, you can't build another clay sculpture on top of a clay sculpture. You've got to, that clay has to be movable. You got to be able to mold it how you want. But the thing about it is it's not permanent. It's not permanent, because when in high school, if you were asked what you wanted to be, that was a permanent question. You, yeah.
You feel like it was set in stone, like, right? Well, if you answered it.
I don't know what I want to be. You know, I still don't know what I want to be. And that's okay, because I get to make it up as I go. And I get to create as I go. And when you give yourself that freedom and you give yourself that allowance, it's just like, oh, okay, I can do this. But when you do it from your gifts and talents, you're like, oh, okay, I got something here. Yeah, maybe I got something here.
I love your sass. I love it. So what have I got here? So you help people use their gifts and talents to achieve their desires. And so when you talk about that inner combination, what do you mean by that?
Well, if you needed to unlock your locker at school, you're going to do a little dial, right? That's because you're expecting something physical. You're expecting that your inner combination is something physical, and it's not. It's something that you feel. And so that is, to me, that's that inner combination. But when you have that spark that says, okay, so the things that I've been saying are insignificant, that I'm good at, or the things that I have been hurt in the past, the things that maybe you were compassionate for somebody else, or maybe you just have a giving heart and you kept getting taken advantage of, and you're going to start, they're just going to start shrinking. But when you start to see, okay, well, that is an inner gift. I can give and not be taken advantage of.
Yeah, it's like I like to provide value. I'm an overgiver, and society would say that's a people pleaser, and I say no, it's just because I have a lot to give, and that's my gift. Yet there's always someone out there that will make you feel like your gift, right, there's something wrong with your gift, and it's standing in the conviction that we know. I don't need anyone out there to tell me that I am this, I am that. I know who I am and what my gifts are, and why I over deliver or provide more value than I need to, because I want to, because it makes me feel good, because I know I can, because I have the capacity
and
to.
Also, Sammy, I think that's having a healthy relationship with giving, because just like we have a dysfunctional relationship with perfectionism, we have a dysfunctional relationship with giving. If I give you this, then I should get something back. That's not giving. That's not giving. But if I have a gift within me and I want to just give it, I don't really, it's not going to matter if you give me something back, because I've really enjoyed giving it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That feels really fulfilling. And I think that's why people go into service, right? Because they love that feeling that they have when they give and share their gifts with others. Yeah.
And when you can use that gift and monetize from it and create a lifestyle from it, that's when you get the fulfillment, the wholeness feeling. That's when you don't feel like there's always something more, the more bug, because you know, like if I were to take 2 cups and one's overflowing and put it underneath, you know, that I'm going to be giving from an overflowing cup. It's not that I'm giving from an empty cup. But the thing about it is when we give from an empty cup, that's when we feel like we're being taken advantage of. That's when we feel like, you know, you're giving to get something back. But just giving from a full cup is a way different feeling.
Yeah, and I think maybe sometimes people are giving away the wrong things, and maybe that's why they feel that way, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, because you will know if you're giving for the wrong reasons. You know, you're going to know because you're going to feel depleted. You're going to feel taken advantage of. You're going to feel used, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Or peer pressured, or, you know, feel like you're having to do something for the sake of someone else. Like, that's not good. That's not healthy. And like you say, that's when you find your energy is depleted.
That's just the box. That's just the box. I mean, you just take a look at it and be like, oh, okay. But then let's just say overgiving. Okay. So somebody who overgives, well, what's going to happen to the people who I have overgiven to? What are they going to think of me if I'm not giving to them anymore? You see what I'm saying? So that's where you go in your imagination. That's when you can go in your imagination and play some things out. And it's kind of like the drawing board. Go into your imagination and play some things out. And you don't have to have visuals and images, because it's about the feeling in the first place. The inner combination is about the feeling in the first place. I feel like I've been overgiving. If somebody says that, I feel like I've been overgiving. Well, what would feel better? And play that out. Play that out in your imagination. Well, I feel like I've been overgiving, but I'm able to teach somebody how to do what I've been doing. So now they have the confidence to do it in themselves. And now they're not asking me for so much anymore because they know how to do it. So that is a gift. Okay. Yes, that is a gift. So that's how you know you have a gift. If somebody is constantly asking you to do something, it's because you have a gift. But if you were to say, okay, I'm going to show you how to do this one more time, or I'm going to help you one more time, and I'm going to show you how to do it, so you can do it for yourself next time. But here's the thing, is people who have gifts skip steps. They skip steps. So I'm going to be like, okay, Sammy, I'm going to teach you how to do an Instagram reel, and I have a gift on doing Instagram reels and you don't. And so I'm going to teach you how to do this, and you do this and this and this and this, and you're done. And then hit post, and you're going to be like, what? That's when the person who has the gift has to slow down and realize that the other person does not have that inner combination.
This is something that I've noticed with sharing things that we know. So we might have learned something, but then we're trying to teach it to people that aren't at our level that we're now at. And so you have to go back to where you were. You almost have to share it back before you knew this information, so that they will get it. Because no one will be able to get it at your level.
If you have a gift, let's say somebody has a gift for social media and they decide to teach it, then they're not going to be good teachers. And that's another indication that you have a gift, is you love to do something, but you're a shitty teacher at it. Because you're just like, oh my God, I get this. Why can't anybody else get this? I don't get it. Like, it's so easy. You just do step A, step B, step 2. Well, they don't realize that in between step A and step B, there's another little half step that you're doing that you don't realize you're doing, that somebody else needs that half step. But you've skipped over it 1,000 times, you don't realize it because it's your gift. And so that's when you have compassion for other people, like, oh, they don't have that gift.
Is the awareness. Sorry, I'm having to put my charger in. We're like, we won't be long, we'll only be half an hour, and here we are an hour later still chatting. And it's gonna die, and I don't want it to just disappear and not save it. So please bear with. Carry on talking. Yeah. So talk to us about then your Inner Spark program quickly then before we leave, so people know what it is.
So Inner Spark is 4 modules, and it is helping you ask the right questions. And I was going to go over the modules, but I can't get my computer on. Oh, here we go. So okay, so the first module is tuning into yourself as the gift. And really that's the foundation. Tune into yourself as the gift. And then your inner combination blind spots. Where are your blind spots? Where is it that you're taking these for granted? And then how do you evolve and grow into your powerful combination? And desire is the gateway. That's the 4th one. Because everybody has desires. Everybody has things that they want. I mean, and so how do you use those gifts and talents to the desires that you want? And then the bonus module is just it's a personal experience that I went through about a time in my life when I had a moment. I had a moment where I woke up and I didn't know where I was. I didn't realize where I was. And then I had a question, and I felt the question forming in my head. And as soon as I asked that question, I felt the heaviness of everything come back on. And it was my search to get back to that silent moment and the struggle. And I take people through that journey in the bonus module. And to be honest with you, I listened to it before we got on here, and I was like, oh my God, I'm crying, because it's just like when you can find that silence within you. The silence speaks volumes, but it speaks to you personally. It speaks to you. And that's where you find that inner combination, is when you really start to go within yourself and find that silent voice that only speaks to you.
Yeah, I love that. And only you can hear, right? Which is then why you have to build the trust, because if only you can hear it, you have to trust what you're hearing.
Yeah, and when I realized that too, clearing out my intuition was pivotal. It was pivotal because I had to clear out the biases that I thought about myself, and I had to clear out the biases that I thought about other people. And I had to clear out the biases that I thought about source or co-creation or God or whatever that higherness is that you believe. And it's like a hierarchy of belief. When you start to clear those things out, then you start to see, okay, things aren't quite as bad as I think they are. I can do this. I can take that next step. Yes, it might be scary, but I know I can do this. I know I have this within me. That is what has been calling you for so long. That is what has been calling you for so long. That's why you want more. And the more is never enough, because the more that you're looking for is what is inside of you.
And I think that's why, honestly, I'm going to say it because I think that's why so many people suffer with anxiety and depression, because that spark within them is being suppressed, that their soul, their purpose is not being expressed. What is it? I can't remember the term. Depression means to take away your expression.
Yeah.
And so and so when I realized that, and I feel more alive than I ever have, because I am stepping into my authenticity. I'm not wearing these layers anymore, and I am recognizing what I'm good at and what I'm not so good at. Both are okay, but accepting all of it and being okay with all of it, and knowing that you will face things like fear, but you will survive. And it's much better to face your fear than and then stay the same, right? And nothing
you know,
changed.
I think that's where I had gotten myself, was I was like, okay, well, I have a really great life and I still want more. And it made me feel bad. Like, it made me feel selfish. Like, okay, but you have a good life, so why do you want more? And then I realized that I was always given the things that I needed. And I didn't have a problem asking for the things that I needed. But when I started asking myself, or started really tuning into the things that I wanted, then it made me feel bad. When I stopped feeling bad for the things that I wanted, I started seeing how those things that I wanted could I could start to evolve into those. I could start to allow them to unfold into my life.
Yeah, and it's just come to me, the more is us tapping into that potential that we're not in. The more is us evolving. The more is us expanding. The more is us doing things that we are capable of.
Oh my God, yes, absolutely. I'm glad you reiterated it that way, because you just set up beautifully. Yes, that's the more. The more is the evolving. The more is the expanding. The more is the allowing your innate abilities to be your guide. To be your guide. Yeah. To be your, you know, whatever, your teacher, your coach, your mentor. But that doesn't mean that what other people say is wrong or incorrect, and that you should just always go inward. Find somebody that you trust. Find somebody that you know is going to help you bridge that gap. And I do want to plug in to Inner Bloom real quick, because that is a perfect way for somebody to experience different pathways, different things that they can experience, different perspectives. And that's why I just love the Inner Bloom platform so much, Sammy. Like, what you have done is truly, truly a gift. It is truly a gift.
I love that you did the plug for me. That's when you know.
I think for somebody who is looking for, like, okay, just for me, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to sign up with anybody. I just wanted to explore my options. And when I gave myself permission to do that exploration, having a program like Inner Bloom would have been pivotal, because a little bit. So, and then when you are ready to explore with somebody one-on-one, then take that leap. Rather than, like, I know a lot of people, I know this is what I did, is I spent a lot of money exploring on things that I shouldn't have been. And then that compounded the judgment that I had on myself, that compounded the frustration that I had on myself for making the wrong choice. Because one of the things that I always did within me was, I've always felt like everything I do is wrong. So that just played into the whole thing. Like, if everything I do is wrong, I can't make a good choice. But that was a subconscious program that I didn't realize until I started asking myself better questions.
Yeah, and the knowing that you can't get it wrong. Yeah, and that's why Inner Bloom was birthed, wasn't it? And, you know, I've shared this story with you. It's through our own journeys, we've spent thousands of pounds on our self-development, and don't really feel like we're any more fulfilled. At some point in time, we felt just as stuck as we did at the beginning. Whereas if we had the opportunity to, I say it's like going clothes shopping. You know, you go into a clothes store, Inner Bloom is that you go into Inner Bloom and you can try on different perspectives and you can see what one fits, what one works for you, because we know that self-development isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. Our journeys are unique to us, and we need to trust ourselves and lead ourselves to know what tools we need, not what we're being pressured or told to have or to use or to take, to guide ourselves to resources.
Well, and I think
to use
that is so perfectly said. When you enter the Inner Bloom platform, you're not pressured by anybody to buy their program. It takes the pressure out of the exploration, and that is a beautiful thing. That, like, if you could color outside of the lines until you figured out what color you wanted to use and what color you really wanted to, what picture you really wanted to paint, and just scribble the crap out of that paper, you know, I mean, how fun would that be to be
and that's the thing, and that's what I want it to be. And you know, I just love talking to you about it, but I love that there's things that you will know, there's things that you would have heard of, and there's things that you've had no Scooby-Doo what about before. But how fun that in our own space, in our own way, we can try it on. And if we want to talk to others about it, we can, but we don't have to. And then if we want to dive deeper, we can. And that's what it's about for me. It's taking away the pressure. It's allowing people to grow through the power of perspective, and to grow and bloom in their own way.
I think it's like, well, I mean, I've told you this 1,000 times, probably 1,000, but I think it's an amazing platform. I wish I would have had something like this, you know, when I started my journey 16 years ago. However, it's just, I mean, it's offered now. I highly suggest, if anybody just wants to explore some options, jump in there and explore it. And then I want to offer, so Inner Spark, I will give, if somebody uses the link that we set up to purchase Inner Bloom, I will give that person a free copy of Inner Spark. So Inner Spark is a $55, I think it's $55, and Inner Bloom is $29. So you would get the platform for $29 or pounds, and then Inner Spark for free. And so that will go until the end of November.
That's amazing. And you've got your Imagination Unleashed masterclass as well. So if you love the way Robin teaches, and I mean, who doesn't, to be honest? I think she's amazing, her energy, what she has to share, her perspective, her wisdom. You can also access that as well. And then potentially dive deeper with Robin on a one-to-one basis.
So
on a bigger program.
I've got another program coming up. I'm getting ready to launch it here soon. And it is what to do with the cycles, you know, like how to get out of the thriving cycle using your gifts and talents, and then also the hierarchy of beliefs. So the belief of others, the belief of self, and then the belief of how do you believe you are a co-creator? How do you believe all that fits in your life? And so that program will be launched here soon.
Oh my gosh, that sounds exciting. Thank you so much for your time today. So there's one more thing I want to ask you. If you could share a message with women around the world, one message, what would it be?
One message for women around the world. Good gravy. This is a good one. Oh, man, find a way to truly 100% enjoy and love yourself wholly and fully.
Roger that.
And men too. Let's not leave the men out. And men too.
Let's all just love ourselves and love one another.
I'm telling you, love yourself. I hated myself for many, many years. I remember saying how much I hated myself. And it was a journey to learn to love myself again and to see life through eyes that love. How do I say that? To see life through eyes, yes,
through the lens
is
of
so
love.
Much better than to see through the lens of hate. And it comes from within. It really does. I hated myself because I hated myself. And that was hard. that was hard to have a happy life when I hated myself. It's not quite as hard when you love yourself.
And now look at you. Just thank you so much for your time today. I've enjoyed chatting to you. I hope that people who've watched it on the live and people who watched it on the replay enjoyed it. Let us know your takeaways. Say hi in the comments. I will tag Robin's details on how to contact her and how to reach out to her. Yeah,
I love you
so
too.
much for your time.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye.